Um, I just looked up this thing about locusts, okay? Lately, I've been seeing a lot of grasshoppers and a lot, like, look, I've seen variations of them. And it says basically when the conditions are right for a locust event, that these things basically have this desire to get with one another in groups and they rub each other's legs. And it releases a chemical pheromone which drives them and compels them to all go together, come together. What's crazy also, these things come out of the ground and they're about 30 centimeters deep. So the fire pit, it's possible that uh, the locust that I seen in my locust fire pit video, that it was under the fire pit and it actually got awakened from the maybe disturbance in the heat. Uh, but I seen this big, huge grasshopper. I seen a bunch of regular little grasshoppers, and I seen a green one too. This green one that's kind of weird shaped, but it says they quickly go through these different metamorphoses and they turn into go from a grasshopper to a locust. Now, from watching this X-Files episode where basically they were using bug pheromones, there's a couple bug pheromone episodes on X-Files where it's been considered as a freaking weapon if they can figure out what the human pheromone is that triggers these. See, that maybe that's what's going on now, is like maybe if the conditions are right in people, just like those grasshoppers when they get rubbed the wrong way, it triggers some inner, like the locusts, they go on a path of eating everything, then they all die. You know what I'm saying? Pretty crazy. But I've seen a bunch of locusts, and I have a feeling that it's not. That's one of the next signs we're going to see in the near future is locusts, a horde of locusts that blot out the sky. I just, I've been sitting back, observing this thing and seeing how it's going to freaking play out. But with lately, there's been everywhere I go, I see just flies everywhere, dude. It's just, or grasshoppers or something. And it's just kind of like, look, it's a slight tweak because, I haven't been paying attention forever, but I noticed this year the apples didn't grow in the tree. But I noticed that the frogs came out and the grasshoppers. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I know it's every few years certain trees give off different crops. And it's the same thing with these grasshoppers in a lot of cases. They were in the ground for a long time in hibernation and they only come out under certain conditions. And another thing I was thinking about, because that does apply to the revelations. Not only will there be plagues, it says that there will be plagues of cankerworms and moths and all this stuff. Literally, as well as in a spiritual and allegorical sense, it means something else, like armies from far off land that come like a horde of locusts. And it seems like they're all technologically and super soldier pimped out from the Revelations description. I was playing a video game where they actually had these suits on where they were running and jumping from the walls, and it made me think of that running, the enemy, the Joel army will run on the wall as well. But moreover than this, it also, one of the plagues of Revelations is the beasts of the field will devour people. And I was thinking about this, okay? See, if you're a person and you're pretty healthy, it's like the animals can smell you and they smell that you're healthy and they leave you alone. But if you start to get sick, the animals get sick by your smell in a way and they can't help it but eat you because it's the natural, like they said, the wolf is the cleaner up of all the sick and the old. So and the young, you know what I mean? So it's like they prey on anything that's got any kind of disadvantage, and so, but sickness for some reason they can smell it, and I'm wondering because if in concert with famine and plague, and let's say there was a release of animals out into the wild, like let's say giant boars, which they've already done. Big cats and pythons and giant snakes in Florida. You got alligators and crocodiles and stuff like that. And if mankind like died off in a mass extinction event, these things would repopulate and literally become dragons in the land of America. It can be the land of the serpent again, with the giant freaking anacondas and pythons down in Florida migrating around. There's also Panther got Panther got spotted down in Grand Blanc. I used to stay out there and run around in the woods out there a little bit. So it's that's kind of a spooky thought that crossing paths with the panther right out in the city. I mean, I know a dude who goes and finds foxes like in vacant lots with a little bit of woods in them. I mean, I also heard that there's animals coming. The deer are coming into the people population, deer and turkeys and stuff like that. And here's another thing: certain wild animal populations, you kind of want to keep them away, because the bugs and the parasites, when they're too close and they intermingle, animals can bring on a plague. Like you can get rabbits bring you some fleas that get you sick, so that while you're trying to navigate that, the wolves, the reintroduced wolf population, and there's also out here, I heard of, like, like people will have pit bull farms and other thing, animal hoarders. One day will die, and then the animals will have to go back to basically being wild, and you get these freaking hybrid German Shepherd, pit bull hybrids. There's a show called it's called American Monster or Mountain Monsters, and it shows that there's some crazy like feral dog man, like hyena looking freaking animals out in certain remote areas that kill coyotes. They're kind of like almost like chupacabras in a way too. Uh, and once again, chupacabra chimera creatures literally could start to re-inhabit the earth. I mean, and even, let's say, programmable matter, you make a demon or fallen angel interface where it can re-inhabit a flesh type vessel thing that maybe it's not human, and it could just be like nano machine that just reconfigures its molecular structure to appear as whoever's in control of it wants. You know what I'm saying? So literally, like, say these things could remanifest these shapeshifter jinn things, and they can be kind of like a bio cybergenic. That's called a cyborg. Anyway, shape shifting creature being that could fit the classification of a chimera, or like in that Disney show called The Sword in the Stone, I think it is, where there's the Merlin versus the witch, and they do a battle of magicians where they keep changing, shape shifting into different things, fighting each other. She turns into a big alligator, I think, and a giant dragon. It's kind of like that in a way. Not some ethereal goblin, sentient energy creature, but actual things in the physical reality. And you could think of machines, drones. There's a drone on this video game, and they got in trouble for leaking it to the public from one of the Call of Duties about their electronic capability. But they basically got something called swarm mode for drones. Like, you hear that bug going, making that high pitched sound. Anyway, they got a drone option called swarm, and it's a swarm of literally all these drones, and they look kind of like grasshoppers flying, and they just fly down and crash on anything that moves, basically. And it could be a swarm. They could literally get a drone swarm to blot out the sky. That fits the Locus. But I mean, like I said, this not only applies in a kind of like a natural, like locus pocus. And then here's another thing. It's like when the witnesses show up, they're supposed to be able to smite the earth also with Locus at their will. You know what I'm saying? So more Locus information, and there's deeper levels it plays out. From the surface meaning to the, you know, and then this big giant freaking under the iceberg. There's you can see the stuff on the surface, and there's more shit under the water. Hmm.